Hello, welcome to story time. I'm so glad you're here today. Are you ready to sing our song? Open and shut them, open and shut them. Give a little clap, clap, clap. Open and shut them, open and shut them. Put them in your lap, lap, lap. Creep them, creep them, creep them, creep them. Right up to your chin, chin, chin. Open wide your little mouth, but do not let them in. Open and shut them, open and shut them. To your shoulders fly. Then like little birdies let them flutter to the sky. Falling, 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 almost to the ground, ground, ground. Quickly pick them up again and turn them round and round. Faster, 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 slower, 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 slower. Faster, 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 faster. Clap. So the first story that I'm going to read for you today is called Fletcher and the Fallen Leaves. It was written by Julia Rawlinson and it was illustrated by Tiffany Beck. Fletcher and the Falling Leaves. The world was changing. Each morning when Fletcher bounded out of the den, everything seemed just a little bit different. The rich green of the forest was turning to a dusty gold, and the soft swishing sound of summer was fading to a crinkly whisper. Fletcher's favorite tree looked dull, dry, and brown. Fletcher was beginning to get worried. "I think my tree is sick," said Fletcher. "What's wrong with it?" his mother asked. "Its leaves are turning brown," said Fletcher. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," she said. Fletcher ran back to his tree and patted the rough bark. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," he said. "You'll be feeling better soon." But the tree didn't get better. Each day more leaves turned brown. One morning the wind blew a small leaf off of a branch. Fletcher jumped up and caught it very gently in his paw. "Don't worry, tree. I've got your leaf. I'll fix you." Fletcher looked around, picked a piece of grass, and carefully tied the leaf to a branch. Just then another gust of wind ruffled Fletcher's fur. The little leaf shook itself free and fluttered back to the ground. Fletcher picked it up again and thought very hard. Then he poked the leaf onto a twig and pushed it down firmly. "Now you hold on tight," said Fletcher. "No more flying around." The little leaf gave a tiny rustle in reply. The next day, a strong wind was blowing through the forest. Fletcher rushed out of the den and ran all the way to his tree. Lots of branches were bare, and little lost leaves spun everywhere. "Don't worry, tree. I'll catch them for you, I promise." Round and round whirled Fletcher after the swirling leaves. "Leaves! Wonderful! Just what I need for my nest," said a squirrel. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher. "Don't take them away." "The tree doesn't need them any more," said the squirrel, bounding off. "Help! Help! The wind and the squirrel are stealing our leaves," said Fletcher. "Leaves! Terrific! Just what I need to keep warm," said a porcupine, rolling around. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher, plucking leaves from the porcupine's needles. "Not any more," snuffled the porcupine, and away he rolled. "Help! Help! The wind, the squirrel, and the porcupine are stealing our leaves," cried Fletcher. Suddenly, a flock of friendly birds swooped down from the sky. They picked up the leaves in their beaks and poked them onto the tree's branches. Soon the tree was leafy again, and Fletcher flopped down and smiled. "Thank you, birds, thank you," he gasped as the birds fluttered away. He lay looking up through the leaves at the sky and drifted off to sleep. But the wind continued to blow, and the branches still danced. The leaves shivered and shook themselves and began to wriggle free. They tossed and turned and twitched and twirled and tumbled to the ground. They brushed Fletcher's ears and nose and filled his dreams with a whispering sound. When Fletcher finally woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. Instead of a roof of dancing leaves, all he could see were bare branches against the sky. "Oh, tree, I'm so sorry," gulped Fletcher. "All your leaves are gone." But then he saw high in the branches one small leaf still holding on. "I won't let the wind steal that one," said Fletcher, and he began to climb. He crawled along to the last leaf and held it firmly onto its branch. All day long the wind blew, the branch bounced, and Fletcher held tight. "I'll stay with you, leaf," he said. "Don't worry." But then, with a sudden whoosh of wind, the branch bounced high. With a flip, the leaf let go and fluttered like a little flag clutched in Fletcher's paw. Fletcher looked sadly at the leaf he had promised to save. He carried it carefully down the tree and back to the den. He made a cozy little bed for it and gently tucked it in, but all night long he could only think of his tree, all on its own. At dawn, Fletcher tiptoed outside. The wind had finally stopped blowing, and the air was cold. The moon still hung in the clear sky, and the pale stars glimmered. As he came to his favorite tree, Fletcher saw a magical sight. The tree was hung with 1,000 icicles shining silver in the early light. "You are more beautiful than ever," whispered Fletcher. "But are you all right?" A tiny breeze shivered the branches, making a sound like laughter, and in the light of the rising sun, the sparkling branches nodded. Fletcher gave his tree a hug, then he went back to the den for a nice, warm breakfast. The end. And our second story today is Bear Has a Story to Tell, written by Philip C. Steed and illustrated by Aaron E. Steed. Bear has a story to tell. It was almost winter, and Bear was getting sleepy. But first, Bear had a story to tell. "Mouse, would you like to hear a story?" asked Bear with a yawn. "I am sorry, Bear," said Mouse, "but it is almost winter, and I have many seeds to gather." Bear helped Mouse find seeds on the forest floor. When they had finished, Mouse said, "See you soon," and tunneled underground to wait for spring. Bear took slow, sleepy steps through the forest. Fallen leaves crunched under his feet. "Hello, Duck," said Bear, sitting down to rest his tired legs. "Would you like to hear a story?" "I am sorry, Bear," said Duck, "but it is almost winter, and I am getting ready to fly south." I will miss you, Duck, said Bear. He raised a paw to check the direction of the wind. I will miss you too, said Duck, and off he flew. The sun was heavy and hung low in the sky. Bear's eyelids were getting heavy too. He counted colors to stay awake. 3 pink clouds, 2 red leaves, 1 green frog. Hello, said Bear. Would you like to hear a story? I am sorry, Bear, said Frog, but it is almost winter, and I have to find a warm place to sleep. Bear dug a frog-sized hole between 2 evergreens. Then he tucked Frog in under a blanket of leaves and pine needles. Thank you, Bear, said Frog. I will see you in the spring. Bear leaned against the old oak tree. He stretched and yawned and scratched at his belly. I wonder if Mole is awake, he thought. Mole, are you there, Mole? Mole was already asleep. Good night, Mole, said Bear with a sigh. The first winter snowflakes began to fall. Many months passed, and the sun returned. It melted the snow and woke the trees. Bear rolled out onto the green grass. It's spring, he said. Now I can tell my story. But first, Bear brought Mouse an acorn. Thank you, Bear, said Mouse. Mouse was hungry after a long winter. Welcome home, Duck, called Bear. You must be tired from your journey. Bear showed Duck a shady mud puddle he'd found. Bear placed Frog in the sunshine till he was warm and awake. Frog opened one eye, then the other. Good morning, said Bear. Bear, Mouse, Duck, and Frog waited all day for Mole to wake up. Finally, Mole poked his nose out into the moonlight. Mole, said Bear, would you like to hear a story? Bear gathered his friends. He sat up straight and cleared his throat. He puffed out his chest, and with all of his friends listening, Bear could not remember his story. It was such a good story, he said, hanging his head. But winter is a very long time for a bear to remember. The friends sat together for a quiet minute. Then Mouse said, maybe your story is about a bear. And Duck said, maybe your story is about the busy time just before winter. I think there should be other characters too, suggested Frog. Like a mole, said Mole, and a mouse, and a duck, and a frog. Bear sat up straight again. He cleared his throat, puffed out his chest, and began his story with, it was almost winter, and Bear was getting sleepy. The end. All right, are you ready for a goodbye song? We wave goodbye like this. We wave goodbye like this. We clap our hands for all our friends. We wave goodbye like this. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you next week.